Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending today's observance honoring our veterans. As we begin this morning's observance, I'm going to take a moment and thank those who make events like this possible. Our mayor, our village board of trustees, our village manager, our first responders, the Civic Center staff, and the members of the many village departments who labor hard to make sure that we can have these programs in our community. So thanks to all of you for all that you do. We are here today to honor service members who did their duty in war and in peace. More specifically, we are here today to honor 6 veterans whose names have been added to the beautiful monument just outside this building, the Arapache Place of Peace. These are Americans who did the important things. They answered the call when their nation needed them. They went where they were told to go, when they were told to do so. They did what they were ordered to do, and in keeping with the character of American military service members, probably took the initiative when opportunity presented itself and went beyond those orders to do what had to be done. Their actions were in support and protection of their buddies, their families, our nation, and our way of life. In the history of our nation, more than 41 million Americans have worn a military service uniform. We honor all of them by remembering them today. We remember them here at Arapache, Place of Peace, whether they are still with us or whether they have passed on. May all of them and all who cared for them, love them, find peace here today and in the future. So thank you for being here. It is important that you are. Please stand if you are able for the presentation and posting of the colors by a combined color guard provided by American Legion Orland Memorial Post number 111 and the Veterans of Foreign Wars Orland Palos Reber Tesmond Memorial Post 2604. Please remain standing for the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hannigan, keep, hut. Forward, hut.
The national anthem this morning will be performed by Diane Starr. Diane is a resident of Countryside, Illinois, and she is the daughter of an Army veteran and the lead singer in a local band. We thank her for coming and for sharing her talent in honor of our veterans.
Halt. Right, face. Prepare to post colors. Post. Present. Powers.
Go.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Right, face. Take seats.
Thank you to our vocalist and our color guard for this morning. They'll be followed by Pastor Don Borling of All Saints Lutheran Church. We value Pastor Borling and his unceasing support of veterans in our community. Pastor Borling.
You may be seated. Yeah. God always hears better when we're seated. So let us pray. There is something about the uniform. It's about freedom, grace, courage, sacrifice, honor, and goodness. Today we honor those of you who have said yes to your country. And today we say yes back to you. Sometimes, too often, we get too wrapped up in ourselves and we forget to say thanks, and that's got to stop. I see the flag, I look at my home, I think of the freedom that I have to do ordinary things on ordinary days. What is not ordinary is your spirit, dear veteran. It's at the heart and soul of each one of us. Your sacrifice and service call us to dig deep, to serve our country, and to serve our fellow men and women, that our tomorrows may be graced with the freedom you have fought for. Today is a gift, tomorrow is a hope. Thanks for making that hope possible. Thank you, veterans. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Borling. We have 3 guest speakers today, each of them a veteran, each of them with a unique perspective of veteran service. Our first speaker, Jim Cruz, is no stranger to Orland Park events. Although he's based in Hickory Hills, he draws support for his organization, Cruz's Crew, from a wide area. Cruz's Crew provides monthly support packages to our service members overseas. Let's listen to what he has to share today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Jim Cruz.
Duty, honor, country. To many in our country, these are just words. But to the men and women like you who served in our military, they are very important words. Words we would have died for. The American veteran is a symbol of what American stands for. Whether drafted or regular, we all raised our right hands and swore that we would defend our country and our Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic, even if it meant giving up our lives. We ended with these words, "So help me God." We warriors have gone through hardships and agonies to make it so. But we weren't the first. Do you know that our country almost didn't survive the first year? July 1776, 20,000 Americans met 30,000 British troops in Brooklyn, and we were beaten. We retreated to Manhattan, and we were beaten again. We lost at White Plains, at Harlem Heights, Fort Lee, Fort Washington. Our army now was in New Jersey, considerably smaller, and having burned our tents, our food, our ammunition, and our winter clothes. We were chased through New Jersey through heavy freezing rains, over muddy and icy roads. Shoes and clothes dissolved. They were hungry, wet, aching, worn out. These troops were beaten. Worst of all, the enlistments were up on January 1st, 1777. No soldiers, no army, no country. During this retreat, a soldier, Thomas Paine, wrote these words: "These are the times that try men's souls." The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of this country. But he who stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of all men and women. It is now winter. Only 22,000 of them are left. They're in Pennsylvania, and enlistments are almost up. General Washington knew he had to have a victory, or the army would be gone and there would be no country. He decided to attack on Christmas Day the town of Trenton. Trenton was the quarters of the German mercenaries called the Hessians. The Hessians were known to bayonet our wounded and our surrenderers. They were considered at the time the finest soldiers in the world, and they were hated and feared. Our starving army was dressed in rags, many without shoes, their feet wrapped in rags or blankets. They entered barges manned by Marblehead fishermen and a unit of Marines. They had to cross up with freezing water on their feet in the boats. They crossed during a snowstorm on an ice-choked river. When they got out, they laid in the snow. They had no fires because that would have given away their positions. They all got over about 5 in the morning after leaving at 10 at night. But this wasn't the worst. They had to march 10 miles on icy roads in blowing snow and in freezing temperatures. It was said you could follow their march by their bloody footsteps. 2 men fell out. They went to sleep and froze to death. Our troops got there, and after hardships, they defeated the Hessians, capturing over 1,500 and killing many more. Our only 2 casualties were the 2 men who froze on the way. They returned over the river victorious. On January 1st, Washington assembled the troops. He told them that due to their enlistments being up, there would be no country. He asked those who would stay to step forward. It was deathly silent. No one moved. All was lost. And then one man stepped forward, and then another, and then another. These, my fellow vets, are the shoes that we have filled. From Valley Forge, under the Star-Spangled Banner at Fort McHenry, on the decks of Old Ironsides, at Gettysburg's Little Round Top, up San Juan Hill, through Belleau Woods, Bataan, Midway, the jungles of Guadalcanal, Tarawa, the Philippines. We raised a flag on Mount Suribachi. We were surrounded at Bastogne. Then in the skies over Japan, Germany, Vietnam, and the Middle East. Pusan, the hell of the Chosin Reservoir. Tet, the jungles of Vietnam, and the deserts of Iraq, and the mountains of villages of Afghanistan. And so many other places nobody's ever heard of. It was done by men and women like you. We did our duty. We served with honor, and we defended our country. Those 3 words that mean so much to us. We, better than anyone, knows what the price of freedom costs. We partially paid that price, and we have known others that have paid the full price for it. I am proud to be among you, all of you who stood forward and defended our flag, no matter the cost. Though others might leave, we would not leave anyone behind. They say that we're 2% of the population of this country. Well, I say we're the best damn 2%. Hoorah. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Lieutenant Colonel Jim Hannigan, comes to us from the environs of St. Louis, where he currently commands the 9th Battalion, Army Reserve Careers Group. He is privileged to lead Army Reserve career counselors in shaping the strength of the Army Reserve across the states of Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, and Arkansas. I can truthfully say Lieutenant Colonel Hannigan's the first service member I've met who has served in the National Guard, the active force, and the reserve in his career. He has ties to our community through his parents, Jim and Peg Hannigan, and his uncle and aunt, Tom and Therese Dubelby. He has been deployed to Germany and Iraq, and he has a beautiful wife, Anna, and 6 kids, and we are fortunate to have him with us today. So please welcome Lieutenant Colonel Jim Hannigan.
Good morning. Fix this a little more if that's all right. We still good? Yeah? All right. Well, happy Veterans Day. Appreciate all the veterans and family members who've come to join us. This is really, truly something special. Thank you, Mayor Pekau, trustees. Thank you to everybody who makes up this veteran community. Thank you to veterans and families for being here. When my uncle, Tom Dubelby, extended me your invitation, at first I was pretty excited. I know what a great crowd of veterans Orland Park is comprised of. And then when I thought about it a little further, I pictured you guys, I thought, there's a lot of service in this room. Who am I to address you? What does a young man like me have to offer this crowd? So to be honest, I'm fairly comfortable speaking. I've done this once or twice, but in this room I was a little nervous. All right. And the reason I was nervous is because of your service. I know that Orland Park serves. Orland Park has served and has honored service for as long as I can remember growing up here. Your service is a thread through my childhood and through the childhoods of your children, perhaps grandchildren, nieces and nephews. I remember in 2nd grade in Mrs. Markeski's class at Prairie, I remember doing projects. I had Uncle Tom's ID tags, and we talked about Vietnam. I remember 5th grade Mrs. Noteboom's at Liberty, and I remember some staff sergeant, I don't know who that was, who'd been wounded in Desert Shield or in Desert Storm, coming in and talking about that conflict. I remember in 6th grade Mrs. Brott over at Jerling Junior High, comprising, she had us all write our grandparents. Maybe some of you are in the room. And you sent in letters to us. And so many of those letters talked about the service, your time in military service, or your family members' time in military service, and all the costs that came with that, but the pride that came with it too. At Sandburg, I remember a guy by the name of Dave Reaver. I don't remember his name. I looked him up just yesterday. He was a Vietnam vet. He was disfigured all over the place, burned face, had white phosphorus all over his face, and he came and talked about his time in Vietnam and how his faith carried him through that period of his life. And then some younger vets. I remember I swam in high school at Sandburg, and there was a guy, a senior when I was a freshman, named Kevin Hankus. I don't know if there's any Hankuses in the room, but Kevin joined the Army, went off to Korea, and came back and was walking up and down the halls talking about observing artillery rounds and the thunder of the ground as those rounds made impact. I don't know how many other underclassmen at that time wore the uniform because of that or are wearing the uniform because of that. But my point is this, that this community serves, and not just through service. We prepare for war and we pray for peace in Orland Park. We erect monuments to the latter. We etch names in walls. How many names have we got today etched in that wall? It's right here. So you guys are going to recognize that later, but there's families here. We're going to remember your service in Orland Park. Where's Gail Blummer? Thank you, Gail, for the many cards and packages that you sent to 26th Infantry in bomb-holdered Germany in 2006. Thank you to all of you who have baked, and to the educators whose classes have written cards. We were talking earlier this morning about one of the schools, all the kids out putting flags up, right? That contributes to the culture of this community and the defense of our nation. It encourages the service that we're all here so proud to represent. Orland Park knows the sacrifice, the many sacrifices that peace and freedom require. Orland Park serves. And not every place is like this. So that's why I was nervous to come here, because your collective service is humbling. It's humbling to stand here and address you. This place represents service, many who served a long time, many who served short. We talked about, just now, Mr. Cruz mentioned historical service, draftees and regulars. There are hundreds of years of service to our country in this room. Hundreds of years. So what can a young man offer? Am I still young? Where are the Korean vets? Are we good? World War II vets? All right, I'm still young. All right. So I admittedly can't offer much to this crowd, except my thanks. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service in uniform and out. Thank you for your service in teaching about your service to your children, your grandchildren. Thank you for continuing to teach school children about what it means to serve our country. Thank you. To all those who are still serving, we probably got some reservists or guardsmen in this room. Thank you for your continued service. The second thing I have to offer, maybe to those who are maybe a little worn out on serving. You've been serving this community for a long time and you're waiting for the next generation to come up. I hope I can encourage you to keep it up. This place is special. And it's not just special because of the camaraderie that this community has among its veterans. It's special because of the commitment of that community to carry that forward. There's another generation coming up, you may not see it. They're raising their families, they're teaching their family. I'm teaching my family now about your service. Mr. Cruz was talking, you hear him going back and forth between them and we as he talked about all the battles through our nation's history. We're coming up. We haven't stopped. So please keep it up. I'm proud to be a part of you, and I'm proud of what you continue to do for this community. Thank you for those of you who've had a smooth transition from military service to the veteran life, that you continue to reach out to those veterans whose transition was not as smooth, who are struggling. Thanks for reaching out today. So many of you have sent texts and phone calls to your friends. That means a lot. But what I'd also ask you is to not just keep up that camaraderie, but to keep up that service I've described. And maybe you haven't done that. Maybe you're enjoying that camaraderie, and maybe you don't know how to continue to serve. Look around at these examples and take note. There are many who are serving through local government. There are many who are serving in education. There are many who are baking cookies. Mom, thanks for the example in that. There are many who are making financial contributions or fundraising for veteran service organizations. Again, some in the reserve component. Some serve by passing on their story. Some serve by walking some young man or woman into a recruiter's office. I'll shamelessly plug that. We could use your sons and daughters, and that's not cheap. That comes with cost, and you know that cost better than anybody. All of your contributions, all of these things contribute to the culture of this community. Our community and our nation are stronger for it. So with that, all I say is keep it up, renew yourself to it. Thank you very much. Happy Veterans Day.
Our final speaker this morning is well known and recognized throughout our community in the southwest suburbs. He is our mayor. He is an Air Force combat veteran and a tireless supporter of all veterans and veterans activities throughout the southwest suburbs. Those of us in the community of veterans know how fortunate we are to have Keith in our corner. So, ladies and gentlemen, our mayor, Mr. Keith Pekau.
Thank you, Dale. And thanks for those words, Jim. They were fantastic. And if you walked into my office, you would see a painting of that river crossing with George Washington on it sitting in my office right on the wall as you walk in. And Colonel Hannigan, thank you for your comments as well. As someone who also grew up in Orland Park and also raised my kids here in Orland Park, I couldn't agree with you more. I want to thank all of the visitors here today and the trustees, and most of all the veterans and their families who are here today. Family members often bear the brunt of veteran service. I know this firsthand, as my wife Betty, who is here today, dealt with 3 deployments, countless and other shorter assignments, missed birthdays, missed holidays, missed special events, and missing 3 months of 2 pregnancies, which I think I still pay for. Thank you, because like the other veterans that are here today, we could not have served without the support of our loved ones. It is an honor to speak at this event honoring the men and women who have honorably served our country and those that sadly made the ultimate sacrifice for our country for liberty and freedom. I would also like to take this moment to acknowledge any of those among us who have lost a loved one in the line of duty for our country. No words can adequately express our condolences or our grief or console your grief. Their bravery reminds us once again of the courage of those who've served and their willingness to sacrifice on our behalf. A World War II hero once said, "Each of the patriots whom we remember on this day was first a beloved son or daughter, a brother or sister, or a spouse, friend, and neighbor." That World War II hero was President George H.W. Bush. All the veterans here today took an oath that Jim mentioned that is important to us. And we took that oath of our own free will. It says, "I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion." I, like most veterans and like many among you, find myself in a time that I did not think would ever exist in America. Our Constitution, the very foundation of our republic, is being ignored on many fronts. Things currently happening in America happen in China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, Cuba, Venezuela, and other countries that are not free. They should not happen in the United States of America. What have we become? This is not what I fought for. It's not what any of the veterans in this room fought for. We fought for an idea, the American idea. An idea that we should all be grateful and thankful to be a part of. An idea framed and described in the Declaration of Independence that was signed on July 4th, 245 years ago by 56 men, some great and most otherwise historically unknown. We all recognize the names of John Hancock, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and Samuel Adams. However, most of the other names, few of us would know. Is that not the epitome of America? The epitome of the American veteran? Unknown, common men and women who do great things, not because they sought out greatness, but because they stepped up and did the right thing and gave of themselves when called upon. If you haven't read the Declaration of Independence recently, I suggest that you do. Some parts that I think are important, I will read here today, including this passage. "In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. The Declaration also talks about the British legislature. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. The concluding paragraph begins, "We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states." Reading this declaration will remind you what we must never forget, that America is an idea, that many brave Americans, many in this room, have fought and some died to protect. An idea that over the last year seems to have been forgotten by those in power and control. An idea that is encapsulated in these two sentences from that very declaration. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. The men and women we honor here today fought for this idea. They risked their lives for this idea, and some who aren't here today died for this idea. Unknown, common men and women who did great things. The Declaration foreshadowed this in its very last line. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. We must never forget that America is an idea. This great idea called America is fragile, and it must be protected. Nobody said it better than my two favorite presidents. Illinois' own Abraham Lincoln said, "America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed it ourselves." Ronald Reagan said, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same." They were both right. Freedom is not free. Thank you to all the veterans who served and all the families who supported them. And now for those of you whose names are going to be engraved, I would ask each of you, as your name is called, to please stand up and be honored. So today's, the 6 people going on to the wall today, on November 11, 2021, Eugene J. Smith, U.S. Army, discharged 1963. Eugene L. Moskal, U.S. Army, 1941 to 1945. William Stewart Van Berschot, U.S. Navy, 1966 to 1968. Martin D. Pavlik, U.S. Army, 1954 to 1956. Robert S. Burness, U.S. Army, 1969 to 1971. Ralph Richard Budzinski, U.S. Air Force Reserves, 1961 to 1965. Thank you all for your service, and please give them all another round of applause.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to our honored guests and their families. We now welcome back to the podium our vocalist for the day, Diane Starr, and she's going to lead us in singing God Bless America. Notice I didn't say she was going to sing God Bless America. I said she's going to lead us in singing. I heard a couple of voices out there with the national anthem. I want to hear every voice with God Bless America. Diane?
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you, Diane. And I think we've got next year's winner on America's Got Talent right here. Okay. About to wind this up. So please remain standing for the playing of taps and the retirement of the colors. Special thanks to the combined color guard provided by American Legion Orland Memorial Post number 111 and the Veterans of Foreign Wars Orland Palis Reber Tesman Memorial Post number 2604. And to our bugler this morning, Mr. Alan de Normandy, a U.S. Navy veteran and member of the Veterans Voices military group.
Rifleman. Port arms. Hannigan, step forward. Left feet. Forward, march. Up. Right. Face. Present arms. Two. Prepare to retrieve colors. Retrieve colors. Left face. Forward, march.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our Veterans Day observance for 2021. Thank you for coming and participating and remembering and honoring those who have kept us free. Families of today's honorees, before they depart, we have your certificates here at the podium. And also, as you depart, applications for the 2022 Hometown Heroes Banners Program and the 2022 Memorial Day program for Arapache are available in the lobby. Thank you very much.